And if you go butting in too soon, you can push people further away.
Right.
You've got
In
to
the
give
wrong way.
Exactly. Give the information. Give people what they need. You know, at any time, you know, there's help available. You know, and I tell people as far as the PTSD downtown, don't wait till the need is there.
Hey guys, welcome back to Community Spotlight. I'm Paramedic Ron with WAME. Today we have Keith Bills with us, and we're going to talk about some things. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but one of the main things that we wanted to bring him on for is PTSD awareness. You have been dealing with stuff with first responders for quite a while.
Yes, sir.
Because you're a first responder yourself, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 28 years.
Yeah. So
28 years
how
total.
did you get started in first responders?
Well, mine got started years ago. I mean, I'm a little older now, but coming up as a young kid, coming from a background that I had with my family, you know, poverty and you know, South Carolina, I saw firsthand what drugs and alcohol and domestic violence looked like.
Right.
So at the age of 21, I went to BLET and wanted to make a difference in domestic violence and you know, child abuse, things like that. You know, awareness in those areas that I had extensive information on because I lived it.
Because of experience.
So I got into in law enforcement, first one in my family, and in 1998. And not knowing what the career had to offer, didn't have anyone really to rely on. You know, I got military in my family.
Right.
But started my career here at Iredell County as a jailer, and that's where it all began.
Cool. So whenever you started in Iredell County. You went to BLET school here. Mm-hmm. Didn't have any kind of, like a lot of people, they see their dad or their grandpa or something like that go through it.
Right.
Where you didn't have any of that experience.
Had zero. Went in, you know, and I'd ventured off on my spiritual side, got away from, you know, the way I was kind of brought up in South Carolina. But I went back to the spiritual side, and I remembered that, you know, in Scripture it says that nothing of fear has God involved in it.
Right.
And I bit the bullet. I signed up. I showed up for class. Went through all the BLET and not knowing where my career would go. But July 12th, 1998, I was sworn in Iredell County Jail.
That's awesome.
Worked there for a little while, and I was promoted to bailiff. And that's where the career really, the fuse got lit.
It all started there.
Well,
that.
You know, you've heard the saying of burning the candle at both ends.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I burned mine at both ends and embarked a couple others and lit those too. Because while I was working 8 to 5 as a bailiff, I was also a reserve Troutman police officer, and I was a Troutman Fire and Rescue member as well.
Oh.
So I was wearing 3 different hats. And,
so you were a 3-wick candle.
That's right. That's right. So I would work from 8 to 5 as a bailiff. I'd make it home, and during all this, I'd had a tragic house fire in Troutman. Me and my wife, we had lost everything we owned, and so I saw firsthand the experience of losing everything through a devastating fire.
Right.
And you know, kind of tickled the brain a little bit what's going on with these guys. And once the career got started as a jailer and then a bailiff, then you know, I went on to Troutman PD and started getting experience there, and you know, jumped on the fire department. So I learned how to drive the big trucks, and you know,
I have done that one time. I was on with Ebenezer here in Statesville, and I think I drove the bigger truck one time, and I was like, nope, I think I'll stick to the squad truck. That's
right. That's right. But it you know, in today's society, you know, we're in 2026, and a lot of people that's first responders now, they're having conversations we never had back in the 90s or early 2000s, and it was basically pay related. You know, we had people that had passion for the job, and I'm not saying that people don't now, but there's a lot of places, you know, they get a lot of first responders based on what they get paid.
Right.
And we still got a lot of places in today's society that are not paying well.
Absolutely.
And it's true passion for the job. And, you know, I learned real quick that I had a passion for the job. I like dealing with the community. I like dealing with different scenarios, different situations. I love to investigate. And, you know, it kind of got the ball really rolling for me there as I left the county and went full-time with Troutman in 2000. So it's a whole different world.
Well, and, you know, you still do a lot of stuff.
I do.
I mean, you're still proverbially burning the candle at both ends in a lot of ways.
I'm still borrowing candles.
So one of the things that you do, you deal with, you help kids out at Christmas.
I do.
In a way that we'll talk about here in just a minute.
Yes, sir.
But you also help first responders with things that they've seen and things that they've dealt with.
Yes.
In the PTSD situation of it.
Yes. So as a first responder, you never want someone certified to look at you and tell you that you're diagnosed with PTSD.
Right. You're scared of it.
Yeah, you're afraid of the unknown, and you don't want the label.
Right.
The label is, man, my career is over. And that's how it used to be. If you came in and said, hey, Ron, I had a difficult time on a call last night, and I need to talk to somebody about it, then a lot of times that was a short list, walking papers.
Right. You're not any good to us anymore.
Right. You're not an asset now. You're a liability. We got to get rid of you.
Right.
But in today's times, we're seeing more and more of compassionate, understanding supervision that would rather salvage the person now and get them the proper help. So that's what I kind of do, and I have been doing for about the last 10 years. Privately, off my Facebook page, I've had first responders reach out and say, hey, man, I'm feeling some kind of way, and I've never felt this way. You got to think, PTSD, when I was diagnosed, it was after a tragic chase in Troutman. And what people don't understand is, here I am, I'm charging hell with a water pistol, and I'm not making any headway, but I'm still charging.
You're still going. I'm
still out here trying to get DWIs and get drug charges and help the community. But a tragic day in December 2003 is a call I didn't want to get. And it was the beginning. Okay. That's where my sister called me from Indiana and told me that my brother had ended his own life.
Oh.
And I'm sitting in a patrol car, fast fields on Main Street in Troutman at 10:02 in the morning. Won't forget it. And my world stopped because I was the one that went and handled situations instead of having the situation.
Right.
So we went to Indiana, and we did what we needed to do for my brother. Came back, and a couple weeks later, I had the chase. And in 16 seconds, my whole world stopped. That's where 7 kids' lives ended.
Oh.
And there are all types of labels and untruths and rumors and, allegations of, harm coming to my own family. Right. And that's when my mind got set up for PTSD, and I didn't understand how severe it was going to be. And as time went on, and I eventually got out of law enforcement in 2009, and not understanding the full ramifications behind PTSD and how it can just take advantage of a person.
Because you just kind of push it to the back. I mean,
right.
Even now, a lot of us as first responders, we will have something happen, and we've got to push it to the back because we've got to continue on with that next call.
Right. The problem is, and the problem still persists, and it's going to, where the major problem is, if you're still in a profession of being a first responder, something along those lines, and you continuously adding logs to the fire,
right?
You continuously make it hotter and hotter. As long as we still have a responsibility or a job, things are okay.
Yeah.
But as soon as we stop going to work, we stop clocking in, things take a turn. We start using, beverages to numb the pain and different things. That's where we start creating obvious problems. And to the person that's got the issue, there's no problem at all. That means I just need to consume more of an alcoholic beverage or more of a substance or something, right. Or I've got to, I'm addicted to weightlifting, or everything is done to the fullest extent.
You find a different addiction to fill that
right.
one addiction.
Right. So, and that's one of the early warning signs that I didn't know. It became very habit forming for me for different things. One, if my kids left the house, where are you going? How long is it going to take you to get there? Here's your Life 360, and I'd watch them on my phone. They deserve freedoms as they grew up.
Right.
But me as a parent, I was scared to death that something was always going to happen to my family. And I didn't know the emotional toll that it was taking on me.
And not only you, but also your family.
My family, my wife, my children, people around me, my friends, I'd started pushing everyone away. And that's when PTSD really had a handle on me. And I didn't acknowledge it. I kept saying, I'm stronger than this.
Right.
I don't have a problem. It's everybody else. And I hear that all the time still. You got to think, PTSD is probably one of the most laughable subjects in First Responder Network.
Right.
Everybody laughs about it. It's not taken serious.
Because they sit there and think hey, it's not happening to me. I don't
not my
see it, so
problem.
it's not a problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's problem. They got it. I don't. And you see it in a lot of, officers that's been, out patrolling 2 to 5 years.
Right.
The 10-year vets, they've been there, they've done that, but they'll actually sit down and have a conversation about it. It's almost like the sharp edge is knocked off at
Right.
10 years, and they can sit down and have a conversation and say, I remember back in my first year, I had to deal with this.
Happened.
But why are we not discussing it now at 2 years, at 3 years, so that we don't carry that suitcase full of baggage? And that's what we're trying to do now, is let people know that, hey, you're not going to lose your job, you're not going to lose your career, and most importantly, you're not going to lose yourself.
Exactly.
Stay true to who you are and the passion you had coming into this profession, and expand on that. Don't let a diagnosis or a disability
change that.
Dictate who you're going to be in 20
Right.
years. But it took me a rough road. In 2009, like I said, I got out of law enforcement, got out of everything, and the problem was that the people that I knew no longer knew me, and they weren't calling, they weren't answering the phone, and I was home alone to deal with my thoughts, and my thoughts took off. And that still small voice in the back of your head that says the world will be a better place without you. It all but consumed my life, and my existence here was pointless and meaningless.
You were, and I've heard this before, and for some reason I heard it the other day. It said somebody made a comment that you were kind of just floating through life. You were
Yes.
almost like an observer in your own life.
Autopilot. And looking back now, I could see where I was facing divorce. My children, I had no relationship with them.
Right.
The only relationship I really had with any of my kids was my daughter, and it's either because she was stubborn or I was stubborn. But I kind of floated through life, and it's almost like every day is just a task just to be a part of. And it got up 2014. I went through a rough episode, and that's when the man above, he intervened in my life, and
stepped in and said it was time to do something.
Yeah, and I've got a testimony, and a lot of times when I do lectures, I talk about the testimony, and it's important to know that we all still have a testimony.
Right.
And we just got to find it. And the eye-opening experience for me, and I always wondered, how could someone try to end their existence? And when I found myself in that position, I didn't know how I got there. And I knew the only outcome was me not surviving. So me and God, we had a conversation. It was one-sided, and I was doing a lot of yelling. And during this conversation, I remember, making the comment that if you exist, you're the only thing that can stop what's about to happen. And my daughter's first year of college was Lenore Ryan.
Okay.
And as I set my phone down and looked at a family picture, my phone rung.
Oh, wow.
And I was picking up a firearm to end my existence. And it was my daughter calling.
The only one that you really still had any kind of relationship
The only
with
one
at
that
the
I would have
time.
answered. The only one I would have answered. And as I answered the phone and played it off like I'd done every day, put the fake face on.
Right.
Because we all want to be, strong, masculine men for our kids. We want to be that protector, that leader. So I answered the phone, and when I said hello, the first words I heard was, "Daddy, are you okay?"
Wow.
And it shook me like a tornado.
Wow.
And I was, crying like I've never cried before. I was not in fear, but I had a feeling come over me that God does exist and He knows me personally.
Right.
And I need to quit trying to meet Him too quick. There's something else going on. And
There's a bigger plan out there
Yeah.
for me than what this is.
Exactly. So, my daughter, she tells me she's in class, and all she can hear and see was, you need to check on your dad and things of this nature. Now, what's crazy about that whole scenario is from the day it happened, it's been just like I just said. We had some conversation. She actually came home, and we went to get something to eat and things like that. And my daughter asked me at 17 years old, strength and courage of a child has always amazed me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm a shell of a person.
Right.
I don't know which direction to go. My daughter asked me, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. She said, will you get help? And nobody had ever asked me that. So sitting there with PTSD from 2004 basically to 2014, nobody had ever asked me to get help.
Because they were just trying to tell you need to do something, or they were walking away from you.
Out of sight, out of mind. You
Yeah.
know, I wasn't their problem. I wasn't, a concern. I was just a crazy old guy that, the job got the best of. And, I've always commended my daughter for being the strong one, the courageous one, the one that didn't have anger when she approached me. But she asked me flat out, would I get help? And I told her I didn't know how. Because
Right.
that's the role that we get put into as first responders.
We are the help.
We are the help. We
Yeah.
don't receive it. We give it, or we find resources to develop the help. So my daughter at that point, she said, I'll find you a counselor. So that started the ball rolling in 2014. Over time, I'd had 3 counselors. And, I tell people all the time now from my own experience, sometimes a counselor's not going to fit. It's like a pair of comfortable shoes. You
Yeah.
need to find one that is comfortable for the person.
Just like you and your doctor aren't always going to be the right fit. You're
Right.
going to have to find somebody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, kind of fast forward from 2014 to where we're at now. I started my Facebook page was started, and I started doing lives.
Right.
And that was therapeutic for me, and it still is to a certain point. But in 2017, I was sitting alone one night in my house, still dealing with issues, still
Right.
not knowing answers, but still dealing and trying.
Still
And,
moving forward.
Of course, I see this button on Facebook. It says live. And I'm like, hey, I can see a live video. I thought I was going to sit there and see someone else's video. So I hit the live button. It was a new feature. And it was me that was going live. And I was like, whoa, back up.
I didn't mean to do that.
Hit the rewind. So I hit the button and I kind of sit there for a second. It's like, I heard a voice tell me, no, hit that button and tell your story. Don't be scared.
Do it again.
Hit the button. Take that step. And so I'm like, okay. So I hit the button and I started off with, hey, my name is Keith and da-da-da-da-da. And for about 30 minutes, I just rambled on, just tripping over words and not knowing what I was going to say next. And I laid awake all night. I was worried about what was going to be said.
Who was going to see it and what was going to be said about it.
Didn't have a clue what I said, but I was worried that people would judge me and make fun of me.
Right.
So I laid awake all night thinking, when I get up in the morning, I'm going to go delete that video. I'm going to figure out how. So I got up the next morning. My wife gets up. She goes to work. Everybody's gone. And I run to the computer and I pull it up. And I'm like, I got to find a delete button. Where's that video hid? Where's it hiding?
How can I find it? Where's it at?
So I go to my Facebook and I open it up. And, of course, you got the notification button. And I pull the notification. And, it's got a couple notifications. It's like 200 friends on there. Well, I saw I had a message. And I'm like, great. Somebody's going to be mocking me, making fun of me, throwing rocks at me. So I hit the button, for the message. And there was a young lady on there. And she said, you don't know me, I don't know you. But last night I had bought 5 grams of a narcotic. And I had planned on ending my existence. I watched your video 4 times back to back.
Wow.
I threw the narcotics in the toilet, flushed it. I'm now on my way to rehab.
That's awesome.
And for 3 years, she sent me a message every year on that day and let me know how she's doing. The last contact I had, she was a certified drug and alcohol counselor.
That's amazing.
In Virginia. And she had become, something to help others. So when I got that message, I was like, I might be on something here. I don't know. But first thing I got to do is, number one, I got to get outside my box.
You got to leave that video up.
I got to leave the video. And that was a hard choice for me because nobody likes to be mocked or made fun of or judged. I said, okay, I'm going to leave this video up and see what happens. And, got a few views. And I said, okay. So the next week I done another video and just talked about random stuff, mental health stuff. All the while I'm getting educated myself. I'm doing my own research. I'm looking at case studies. I'm looking at case law. I'm looking at first responders and the suicide rate as a first responder from then. And it was shocking.
Has it changed a lot since back then versus now?
Oh, yeah. Back in the old days, back even 2020, just in 6 years, the numbers have, I would say, in my opinion, they're close to doubling. You think about it.
So they're going in the wrong way.
Right. So you think about it. In the last 2 to 3 years, just here around Iredell County, I know of 4 situations where first responders took their own life, and it's not reported on. It's not talked about.
Right.
But it happens, and so now.
Do you think it's not reported on and not talked about because of the stigma behind it, or do you think it's not reported because of not driving people to that job that's desperately needed?
It's a good question. I personally believe a couple things. One is the stigma.
Right.
We both are first responders. We hear about it. If you talk about PTSD now and certain crowds, they still laugh about it.
Yeah.
It's still laughable because it hasn't affected some people
right.
in a close situation. So it's still laughable, like, haha, somebody can't take their job. And it's a part of the job.
Well, and unfortunately, even some, and luckily things have changed a little bit as far as this specific thing that I'm fixing to mention. But I know of a first responder that went through paramedic school with me that was basically told that if you can't take it, you need to find another field.
Right. And that's the kind
that was after a traumatic.
Absolutely.
Death.
And that's where we need to get in touch with the emotional side.
Right.
Because we're losing good people to bad ideas.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way I can describe it. We're losing good people to bad ideas. We've got people that have so much compassion for the job and the community, but we're losing them to people that are stubborn, and that's the only way I can put it. People are stubborn to the point of, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It does exist, and what's actually happening, Ron, is we've got people that are floating through this life. We've got a majority that they have PTSD, but unannounced. It's been not diagnosed.
Because they don't go see somebody.
They don't recognize. They recognize, but they fight it off.
Right.
They resist it, and PTSD will always win, unless you have an outlet. You have, you let people into your world, and let your spouses know. Hey, look, I'm feeling a certain way. And spouses of first responders, they hold the keys. They just don't know it. They don't know how to unlock the lock.
Well, and it's like, because, I teach EMT classes, and it's one of those things that I tell people on a regular basis. I tell my classes, hey, you need to find somebody outside of your first responder friends that will sit and talk with you.
That's right.
You don't have to give them all of the details. They don't need to know the gory stuff of what we deal with.
Right.
But talk to them. You can leave out that precious PHI, the HIPAA information. You don't have to give them that information, but you need to sit down and talk to somebody.
Yes, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's one of the most one of the biggest things that can actually help someone. We've got kids that are going through paramedic school through BLAT. A lot of these kids have never seen trauma.
There's an 18-year-old in my EMT class.
A lot of kids. There was a time where most people you met, they come from broken homes. Mom and dad divorced, single mom, single dad, whatever situation. They've seen some domestic stuff, so on and so forth. We got a small majority that has seen some trauma, but a lot of people coming into the line of work now, they've not ever seen trauma. And then when you get out on a vehicle accident where there's a fatality or a small child, that's a big one. When you're dealing with a small child, its life's ended. A lot of people don't know how to register that.
Right.
Right now, we have the Winston-Salem officer that his life ended Sunday morning. And, that's close to us. That's a 45-minute drive.
Right.
It's so close that my own daughter said, I know his wife.
It's in an area where we could very easily know people that he knows.
Yes. My daughter actually sent me a message and said, I know his wife, and she's with child. So now, I'm consoling my daughter. Even that's our community. And that's how I kind of feel now. So if we fast forward to 2026, kind of where I'm at in society now is I don't need permission. I don't need approval to get out here and do something right. If it's somebody's hungry, we feed them. If you're cold, let's warm you up. If you need a conversation, let's talk.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is a hug will outdo hate any day.
It can go a long way.
Yes, sir.
I know whenever I was, and I still talk to him on a regular basis, even though we're not working together as much as we used to. Whenever I first started EMT school, two of the main driving forces behind, well, I'll say three. For one, I had a house fire, just like you did, back in 2013. That drove me to want to help people. And then from that, I started EMT school. Well, whenever I was doing that, two of the biggest influences on my career, Dan Paulson and Steve Wooten. Those two, I mean, I don't even know how to describe their influence on me.
That's right.
Because it's like whenever I was sitting in EMT school, Dan looked at me and he said, "You're going to go on to be a paramedic, aren't you?" And I had no plans on doing that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely none. And he looked at me and I was like, "Well, I don't know." And he's like, "Yeah, you are." Mm-hmm. And 18 months later, I was signed up for paramedic class.
And is it not, it's almost inspiring, because sometimes in this line of work, your role models and your mentors come from all walks of life.
Right.
And you don't know who's going to be your next mentor, what season they're going to fall in.
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer, some people, they're in your life just like the changing weather, and Mother Nature's crazy. But some people are in your life only for one season. And you could be best of friends and get along great, but it's a one season, one and done. But then you got some that's going to be a part of many different seasons. You know, they're going to be there for the long haul. My mentor, I recognized something about this guy in BLET, and he was my firearm instructor. His name's Larry Hilton.
Okay, I know that name.
And I recognized something about Larry. There was something about him. And me and Larry, we actually go to church together now. And back when, you know, went through BLET, and I'd see him occasionally from time to time, he just carried himself in a different manner.
Right.
And, you know, with integrity. And, you know, I couldn't get away from that, you know. And I always thought about that, and I still do from time to time. But I think it's called, you know, self-accountability.
Yeah.
We're all accountable to someone. Like you were saying, have that one friend. I know in my house and what I instruct other people to do, especially people getting into the first responder network, if you're married, you need to have a contract with your spouse. And they're like, a contract? And I'm like, yes, the contract is this. If I notice a change in you, in your mental stability, or if you're starting to get aggravated super fast or frustrated or depression, anything that I see
it's out of the ordinary.
Different, I'm going to bring it to your attention.
And that's not a bad thing.
Now, when I bring it to your attention, you're not allowed to get angry or upset with me over me bringing it to your attention. It's all done with respect and love.
Right.
But, you know, you make that contract going into it. That
I like that.
If the day comes, we're able to sit down and have a conversation. That's personal accountability.
Right.
Because I'm going to see things in Ron that Ron doesn't see in himself.
Exactly.
Because every day the changes are so minute that it's hard to recognize.
One day it might be that you're getting upset because you dropped something or forgot something. Mm-hmm. Next day you're hitting walls because of that same situation. It's so small.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter to anyone else.
You didn't notice it.
Nope.
But somebody else that's going to be there daily is going to see it.
Right. And the PTSD, a lot of people, you know, they say, well, you know, there's always been the other stigma of, you know, you're a first responder, you're not military, how do you have PTSD? Well, you know, let's be honest. Military does have a lot of PTSD associated, but so do first responders. The problem is, a lot of times military, you go away from home. Your job is in another country. It's somewhere else. You know, it happens there. And then you come home, and a lot of people don't know how to adjust coming home with what they've seen, what they've been through, what they've done there. And we have to stay on top of that, as well as the VA benefits, getting people the associated help they need there.
Right, exactly.
And there's places and there's information out there for it.
But the big thing is there's resources there.
That's right. And the big thing with first responders is, if you are involved in a tragic situation today, mm-hmm. you still got to go downtown tomorrow and buy supper for your family. So you never fully get away from where that tragic event happened. And the people that associate you to that tragic event and want to question you about it, hey, what happened? Because everybody wants information. What happened? How many people lost their life? You know, why the car wreck? You know, this guy done this guy done that. So you truly never get away from the trauma. Right. You're constantly reliving it through someone else. And then that's when the anger comes in, when somebody has it wrong. You know, I've had to bite my tongue on one or more occasions where I'm like, look, stop being nosy. It's not your business.
Well, and one of the biggest questions that we get asked as first responders, and now granted, I'm not actively running calls anymore, or currently, but it's the situation of whenever somebody comes up to you, well, what's the worst thing you've ever seen in your career?
And you know what my answer to that is?
How do you answer it?
How I answer it is this question you just asked me.
Because what it does is it brings up
It's a
everything
trigger.
that you've ever had.
I was sitting in a restaurant one night, and I had someone approach me that knew me from my social media and prior, and they said, Keith, what was the worst call you ever had? And I sat there for a minute, and I got angry, and I felt tears coming up, and I started deep breathing, and I just looked at them, and I said, the worst situation I've ever been in is now. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, having someone come up to me and ask me to relive bad situations that's hurt me mentally, physically, and emotionally, having me relive that just so you could, get a story.
And it's not that they're purposefully trying to hurt you, but it's just they don't know.
Right. And, if you don't know, you don't know. I mean, it's almost like saying, what's it like to get a teenage girl ready for prom if you've never had a daughter?
Right.
You just don't have the information. What's it like to go 190 mile an hour around a racetrack if you've only driven city streets at 35?
Exactly.
You don't have the adequate information. So I'm not going to say it's an ignorance factor. It's just people don't think a lot of times before they try to speak. And I think a lot of times people just want to fit in. They want to know, this is my neighborhood, what happened to the house fire.
They want to be part of the conversation.
Right. I want to get the information straight. So a lot of times you're hurting the person that you're asking more than just getting information for yourself. But that brings us to the next topic, which is blame.
Right.
When you have PTSD from years of running these calls and never getting associated help, where's the blame go?
On yourself.
And
you're constantly blaming yourself.
And nobody absorbs the blame better than a first responder.
What could I have done different? What did I do wrong?
Well, here's a question for you, Ron, and I'm gonna tickle your brain a little bit.
Right.
When do you answer a call?
Whenever it comes out. I mean, honestly, whenever it comes out, you go.
Is that your final answer?
I think so.
Now I'm gonna tickle your brain.
Probably before a little bit, actually.
Well, now I'm gonna tickle your brain. If you're sitting around a fire station, EMS base, patrol car, and you get a call on the radio,
right?
You respond to the call, correct?
Yes.
And when you get on scene, you're still responding to that call.
Yeah.
You get your equipment, your stretcher, whatever. You get out of the car, whatever situation. You go up, you get the adequate information. You take care of the situation.
Right.
You answer the call when you're done and you've cleaned up and you sit down. How many calls have you
have time to think about it?
How many calls have you been on when you got comfortable after the call and you started thinking, did I respond quick enough? Did I take the shortest route? Did I drive fast enough? Did I drive safe enough? Am I going to get a complaint? When I got on scene, did I give proper medical attention to all who needed it?
Should I have taken more gear? Should I have... Yeah, you're right.
So we respond to calls and we answer them when there's nobody else around.
Whenever we're sitting there by ourselves.
We are our own worst critic.
Oh, 100%.
I don't care if it's a relationship or if it's being a parent, a friend, and a profession. We are our own worst critics.
And to be honest with that, what you're talking about, there are calls that still, to this day, I mean, whenever we're sitting here talking, I'm actually running through calls in my head that I'm thinking about.
Still answering them.
Yeah. Because going back to some of those calls of, did I do the right thing? Could I have done more?
Right.
What could I have done different on this one or this one?
Right.
And there's two that come to mind, and for that, and I'm not going to talk about them in depth on this, but
right.
For those that are watching and that know me and that have run those calls with me, they know what two calls those are.
Mm-hmm.
So, Toby Nicholson was a big part of my training from the time that the house fire happened all the way up until she and I both kind of left at the similar times.
Right.
And she's also helped me with the education portion of it.
So let me ask you a question. So, you're talking about, getting started, things like that. How many good employees have you seen leave because of mental health?
A lot. There's too many to count.
And that's something we're still dealing with.
Me being one of them. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we're still dealing with. And we're trying to get out to the leadership now that, being a leader from 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and that's what we're getting. Mm-hmm. A lot of old heads are starting to get close to retirement age, or starting to, they've crested the hill and they're on the downslide now. That, this is an evolution thing.
Right.
It's evolving. It's not that, we've got a weaker class of people, because that's been the big thing is, this generation, they don't know trauma like we knew trauma. Well, technology has also changed.
Yes.
So the older folks, me included, may not be as in tune with technology as somebody that's 22, 23 years old. So it's a give and take, where we're hard around the edges and somebody's softer, we give up that education on technology like they do for sensitivity.
Right.
So there's got to be an equal there. So we have to start training our upper echelons. I'm talking, from, the leadership from law enforcement down, from our communications, post over here, e-com. We need to be training from the leadership aspect down, how to speak to someone that's been hired for a week.
Well, yeah.
How do we recognize early warning signs in them?
Because you've got to let them know that it's okay to talk about it.
Oh yeah, well.
Whereas back then, like you were saying earlier, you didn't talk about it whenever you first started.
No, I mean back years ago, if you recognized that there was a change in someone, that's when the quiet circle started. Hey, watch Ron over here. You
never know when he might flip. You never know when he might do this.
He might be fixing to teeter a little bit. We need to get rid of Ron, so people wash out. Good people lost decent jobs, but we're in a different time now. We're in a different environment where if you recognize, and that's the other step besides having a spouse or a loved one, a brother, sister, nephew, whatever, have that safe person that you have a great relationship with that knows you and would recognize a change in you.
And it's like you were talking about with your spouse at home. Most of the time, especially with first responders, you're spending 12, 24, 48 hours with these folks on shift.
Right.
You're spending just as much time with them as you are your family at home.
Probably more.
If that's what I was going to say, if not more.
I mean,
and so if you see something, if you notice something about your family, and I'm considering that as the first responder, you are family. Say something.
Well, and that's the big thing.
Talk to them.
That's the big thing, and on my Facebook page alone, it's been said more times than not that if you see something, say something.
Right.
I would rather make Ron mad at me today, and then you walk away and calm down and think about what I've said to you out of love and compassion. That
and come back
I'm
and talk
sincerely,
about it.
Concerned with who you are. I would rather have that conversation with you today on, for the moment we're in, than I would obituary.
Right.
And
standing up doing your eulogy.
And that's where I'm at with people now. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather make you mad at me today. But when you go home and you sit down and you start thinking about the conversation, because I know PTSD, you're going to replay it back. Where was I in the right? Where was I in the wrong?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of diagnoses fall back to that, to replaying on the loop of an event. But I've had more people come back to me and say, man, thanks for calling me out. And I'm like, well, I really didn't call you out. I just brought something to your attention that I've seen. And that's what we do right now, or what I do personally, is I give people instruction. I've had numerous first responders in Iredell County all across the United States, from here to Washington. I've had people reach out to me on my social media, on my messenger, and ask me a question. Hey, man, my partner, I've had him for 5 years, and he's acting kind of different. How can I address that? Because you know as well as I do, some fire stations, police departments, places like that, you're going to hear things. You're going to hear the foul language. And that's one of the key indicators of PTSD. Some mental separation is when people's language gets more abusive or more harsh. Mentally, they're fighting the emotion. And they're covering it up with, I've got to be a tough individual. I've got to show that I can handle this.
I've got to show that tough skin.
So, the alcohol consumption goes up. The shutdown factor kicks in where they just want to be alone. They don't want to go out. They don't want to. They don't want to go out to a public event. I want to stay at home. I want to sit in my garage. I want to get on my motorcycle and go for a ride by myself. It's the exclusion. I'm separating
yourself from everybody else.
So there's warning signs, And that particular situation, I told this guy, I said, you've been a sidekick partner for 5 years. Every night we work, we're together. And he's going down a road that I've never seen him go down. And, he's
drifting
gotten
further and further.
Yeah, he had, the way he explained was, I've watched the harshness come in like a slow moving storm, and that is mental health, my friend. It doesn't just show up. There's some people that it does, that you wake up one day and the lights are off. Nowhere to pay the power bill, mental health is kicked in, and your brain has had enough. And your mental health is kicked in, and the lights get turned off.
And you're shut down.
And you're shut down, and people say, I don't know, it just this person just lost it. Something got them to that point.
Right.
And it's not recognizing the early warning signs. We're not paying attention to them.
And it's probably a lot of small somethings, not just not just a large something.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten calls, messages at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody reaching out saying, my husband just snapped because we had no more ice cream in the freezer. And I'm seeing a side of him that I've never seen before, and he's scaring me. I'm like, okay. Show up at your house. And I'm like, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to talk to you.
Yeah.
I brought you ice cream. Here, let's calm down and sit down and have a conversation. And I've told more times than not, I would rather sit in a silent room.
Right.
And let you know I'm here and that I love you and that there is help for you than for you to look around and not know that anybody exists.
That's awesome.
Sometimes the most words get said when there's silence.
Yeah.
Just recognizing who's got your back. And that's the whole, I got your six.
Right.
Our motorcycle ministry's got that as a motto. I got your six. Call us anytime.
So, and going back to that, I got your six. What does that mean? Because I know as a first responder, but a lot of people may not know. It's
100% military. It's based off military. It's special ops, things like that. What most people recognize it from. It's if you've got a battle buddy, you've got a partner, you've got somebody that's been in that line of work in the trenches. They know what you're going through.
Right.
For you to tell me you've got my six, that lets me know that you understand the trauma, the tragedy, and that I've got somebody I can confide in, that you're not going to run out here to the first person you see and tell them my business. If you're hungry, I got your six. Let me go buy you a burger. Like I said, if a man's hungry, you feed him.
And to a lot of people, it means I've got your back.
That's right.
It's
got your back, 100%. 100%. And there's no questions asked. You're not going to be a conversation post. Everything's confidential.
Right.
And if I can't get you the help that you need, I'll find a resource. There's resources everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, we've got more resources available now here locally than I've seen in the past 28 years.
Well, and going on that, we were doing an event down at let me see if I can correctly say this, Statesville Event Center, I think is how it's pronounced now. It used to be the States, for those that don't know, it's the Statesville Civic Center.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just cover all bases. It's Statesville Civic and Event Center.
Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, that's
I
what
know
I
it's something
call it.
like that.
That's what I
They
call it.
just changed it, so I'm still trying to learn it.
Right.
But they did the Drug and Alcohol Coalition of Iredell County. They did a seminar, I guess is what it was.
Right.
And they had different classes and stuff like that, or different breakout sessions is what they called them. To where you could go down there and you could learn about, there was one on PTSD, there was one on anxiety, depression, the different doors that open for different things like that.
Right.
So there's so many different resources that were in that those sessions I talked to.
And just think, just 5 years ago, it was unheard of.
Yeah, you didn't have it.
I mean, going on that, the new clinic or new facility downtown Statesville that we've talked about before the broadcast, the PTSD.
Right.
Derek is doing amazing things down there on the veteran side. We are getting the word out slowly but surely, because we both know first responders don't like change. I mean, just like anybody else, don't like change. But
even more so than most people, I think.
Right. And, I've had people question me, like, this PTSD place. And I'm like, yeah, it exists. It's right there on Broad Street. Go in anytime.
Now, do you know the address over there on Broad Street?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Or what's it
308, right there at Green Street and Broad. It's the big white house on the corner.
Okay.
Got an attorney downstairs. The PTSD's upstairs. But it's right there on the corner. Got a sign out in the front yard. But people, they want to question. They want to know. They're like, this guy that runs it, the guy that started it, Derek, what's his experience? He's a veteran. He's 18-year vet. He's Air Force. He's been in combat. He's been overseas. He's been through some things.
Right.
Not putting all his business out there, but
we'll get more on him.
Yeah. So he knows the avenues, and he's educated in certain areas. And the biggest thing is we're not going to fix anybody.
Right.
I mean, we're not going to put false details out that we're there to take your PTSD away. Because guess what, Ron?
You can't do it.
It doesn't leave.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave. I spent many years of my life giving it to PTSD and letting it have total control over who I am. And I didn't know that I could control it. So now instead of me living with PTSD, it lives with me. I let it come out and play.
Which is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I let it come out and play from time to time. But I always know where to put it back and what closet it hides in. Instead of me walking around angry and being disgruntled and blaming others for all my misfortunes in life, what I do is use that for coal to stoke my own fire and go out here, and it's motivation.
Right.
It leads me to people that need me. And that's something my wife...
It helps you help other people.
Absolutely. And my wife will attest to what I'm about to say. I never show up in a situation I wasn't invited to.
You're not just going to randomly show up somewhere.
Right. So, and a lot of people, they don't believe that. But that is 100% the truth. I don't just go get in situations unless I've been invited to that situation. And I look at it as a spiritual thing. There's pictures floating around of Christ himself standing at a door with no door handle. That door had to be opened to allow him to come in. And I'm not putting myself in that position. Of course, I'm not saying I'm a symbol like him, but that's good education. There's a time and place for everything. And if you go butting in too soon, you can push people further away.
Right.
You got
in
to
the
give
wrong way.
Exactly. Give the information. Give people what they need. At any time, there's help available. And I tell people as far as the PTSD downtown, don't wait till the need is there. Show up because you want to be there and you want to learn who's there.
Right.
That way, if something does arise and you feel, you feel your anxiety going up, you have a panic attack out of nowhere, depression sets on you pretty hard, at least you've got accountability at the office. You go in, Derek, myself, and you can put a face to a name, and you can come in and be open and honest and say, look, I woke up today and I'm feeling some kind of way. I don't understand this. What can I do? Well, it's easier to head you off now.
Exactly.
Instead of let you get,
and it helps you start making those conversations.
Right.
Like we were talking about the other day.
Right. You never start a conversation with a new person 5 years deep.
Right. Because I'm not going to spill everything that I've
you got to build trust.
Right.
You got to have compassion, understanding, and know where Ron's coming from. I know where Ron's at because I've been there with Ron.
Exactly.
So we'll have a conversation different than I will a stranger on the street. It's baseline stuff. So get past the baseline. Get down to the general conversation and, hey, how's the family? Did you have a trip last weekend? How'd it go? Get on those kind of conversations. So now the baseline's done. But that's the problem we're still having is people are scared to come out of their box.
They're scared to start that conversation.
They're afraid that somebody might see them at a facility that is mental health. They're afraid of the rumors.
It's still taboo to certain people.
Well, hey, newsflash, people. Newsflash. More people are respectful to those that step out and say, I'm just preparing in case mental health becomes an issue.
Not only that, but it's one of those things of those people that you're thinking are caring about those things, are they really going to matter if something happens to you?
Nope.
I mean, that's the big thing.
It's bottom line.
Yeah.
It's bottom line. You got those that are willing to help, and you got those who talk about the help.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time with my motorcycle ministry that we have. All the years of service that we gave the Iredell County from here to Alabama. We've been all over North Carolina. We've been to, like I said, from here to Alabama. We've been South Carolina. We've been everywhere. And
that's awesome.
People are like, well, we didn't know you had a hand in that. And I'm like, well, I only put 10% on social media, 10 to 15%. And
It's not all about being seen.
no. And, you got people in this world that'll say, you only do the work you do to get pats on the back. No, don't like pats on the back.
If that was the case, you would have seen me on everything that you supposedly didn't see me on.
And I'll be honest, here just a few weeks ago, I had that conversation with someone that made the allegation that you only do things for recognition. And I thought about my response. And my response was simple. Where was you at last night? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, it's not on Facebook, but where was you at last night? They're like, what do you mean? Last night I was at home in bed. I'm like, that's good. I wasn't.
Right.
And they're like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Okay, 2:30 in the morning, I was up on my phone on video with someone that was threatening to end their life and had the means to do it. And I'm talking the firearm away from them.
Right.
I spent 3.5 hours on the video last night talking to this person. Just being there.
Yeah.
To the point the gun got put away.
Because they knew they could call.
And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was doing while you was home asleep. And that happens more time than not, where I'm on video, I'm up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, checking on people, sending messages. And that's something that's my accountability.
Right.
Now, every night before I go to bed, I send at least 10 random messages to 10 random people just to say, hey, how are you? Are you okay? Because that might be the only time they get asked how they are. Don't ever not answer a call.
Exactly.
Because you might be the only person that got the call.
On that situation, how can people get in touch with you?
It's real easy.
What's the best way for us to contact you and talk to you about this kind of stuff?
It's real easy. If you go to Facebook, you can look me up under Keith Bills. Right now, my profile picture got changed to Winston-Salem badge.
Okay.
But normally it's this pretty face here, profile picture. Look me up through Facebook. That's the best way. Send a private message, hit the follow button, things of that nature. I'm always available. I'm always there. I'm definitely here for our first responders, just for information purposes. If I don't have an answer, we'll go get one.
Yeah.
We'll find it together. I'm not, I'm not certified to any area in this world except life experiences and learning the hard way on how to get resourceful help.
Yeah.
Being the one that can say, guess what? The hardest part about counseling is the first visit. From there on, it's all downhill. It's all just trusting your counselor, just to have your back and have those general conversations. Find good friends. Go out and have a good relationship with somebody to sit down and break bread.
Yeah.
But people can find me on Facebook under Keith Bills. Like my shirt, it says, Hey Folks Experience. Look for the videos, and they all start the same way. Hey, folks. And that's the reason we do it. It brings a smile. Like we said before the show started today, if you start a conversation on a positive note with smiles and laughter, then you can continue that same conversation. People have to actually look for areas and context, to change the content.
To bring it down.
I don't like contentious situations. I think there's not a conversation that can't be had without compassion, love, and forgiveness.
Right.
And if we keep that through our conversations, we can uplift most with just a smile and a phrase. You keep that same environment as you go through your life, knowing that I'm not perfect and I'm not going to be perfect. I have to ask for forgiveness every day, and I have to make amends, with people in my life daily. I mean, let's think about it, Ron. My new saying as of here lately is, we as fathers and husbands, we wake up in two situations. We can either be at the steakhouse or a doghouse, and it all depends on what we say to the wrong people.
That's exactly true.
So, where do you want to be at the end of the day? Is it going to be the steakhouse or the doghouse?
I'd prefer to be at the steakhouse.
We have to align ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally with people around us.
To be in the right places.
To be in the right place.
I like that.
I mean, you think about it. Morgan Wallen brought a song out. And in that song, I think it's Morgan Wallen, that says, even Superman was a man.
I haven't heard that one.
Yes. And we all have our kryptonite. We all can't save the day, and none of us wear capes. So
True.
It all comes down to personal accountability. And what am I going to be accountable for today? Am I going to be the one to step up and be more of a man by admitting that I have a problem and that I might need a resource, a go-to, an outlet? I think it takes more of a man to do that than it does someone to laugh at mental health.
Most definitely.
And that's where we're at in society. My son, my son, he's a big guy. I mean, he's strong.
Reed's a big boy.
Reed's a big boy. I love all my kids. You know, and you know, just talking about Reed in general. Just here a couple weeks ago, he changed his last name to mine. A lot of people think they're my natural children,
right.
Biological children, but they're not. I've got 4 kids. They're not mine biologically, but they're my kids.
Yeah.
And I thought, we've been down some good roads, been down some emotional roads. And just a couple weeks ago, Reed changed his last name to mine officially.
I like that.
At 30 years old. And it makes you recognize the lasting impressions that you leave with someone. When most things happen when you think nobody's watching.
Right.
And it comes down to integrity and morals and ethics and who you are as a person. And, here I am. I've got this strong, independent son. And I've had to tell him in the past, I don't care how much you can bench press. I don't care, what you do physically. What I care about is emotionally.
Right.
If you come to me and say, Dad, I got a problem, that's when you're at your strongest.
Of course.
That's when you're, to me, that's when I'm going to hang my hat on something that you did well. You admitted.
You're at your strongest usually whenever you're the weakest.
That's right. That's right. When you can step up as a man, as a woman, and admit that, hey, I need 10 minutes. I need a time out. As we recognize these things as we're getting older, I wish I'd have known these things 30 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years ago. We start letting go of vices.
Yeah.
We start letting go of things that just was a clutch. Me personally, last August, after being a smoker for 40 years of my PTSD since 2004 till last year, 2025. I mean, that's 21 years of having a constant vice. I made a conscientious effort in August. I'm laying the cigarettes down because these have been a vice with my PTSD.
Right.
Within 2 weeks, I couldn't remember holding a cigarette. But I'd come to grips with my mental health and where I needed help and what I could do to strengthen myself. And where my weaknesses was, I wanted to be stronger. And once I got to a level of, I don't need a clutch. I don't need a vice. I was able to put them down and walk away.
That's awesome.
But that's where accountability comes from. Get out and do things for your community. There's somebody in our community that always needs help.
And there's ways that you can get out and volunteer and help.
Absolutely. Every weekend there's something going on. Host an event, get something going. Community can drive. As many neighborhoods as we have out here, make a big sign, put it in your front yard, and put it out there. Hey, we're doing a community can drive. On Saturday from 8 to 5. See how many of your neighbors would latch onto that and get them out of the house, get them involved.
And that's exactly what we're trying to bring to the forefront here.
And
things like you coming in here and talking, and I'm going to talk to Derek.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it right this time. I'm usually trying to say Dave.
Kudos.
But I said Derek this time. We're going to talk to him. We're going to talk to I made some connections at the DACI thing.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to bring some people in and get some recognition to some of those things.
And we're we're looking throughout the year here. Today's a casual conversation. I actually go out and I do lectures at churches and different events where we talk more in depth of PTSD, testimony building, faith, and restoring faith in your fellow man as being a constant shoulder instead of a thorn in your side. But we do lectures on those types of things. I've actually had a documentary that came to Statesville.
Okay.
You missed out on that.
I did.
But it may be coming back.
Let us know.
It's called the PTSD, the movie.
Okay.
But I'm in works right now with the creator of that to get it back to the Civic Center. The last time it was here, we had 42 people in attendance. Out of 42, 21 or 22 actually went and started receiving counseling.
Well, you'll have to let us know whenever that's coming back into town, and we'll talk about that again then.
It's a great documentary. Look forward to it. But we got big things happening in 2026.
That's
so
awesome.
Stay tuned and hang on.
Thank you for coming and hanging out with us today.
Thanks for the invite.
I appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, guys, that's wrapping it up. Thanks, Keith, again. So we will talk to you next time.